everybody. Alex Riley over at StarNews Varsity here, and we're going to talk a little playoff football. But first, South Brunswick swimming, Wilmington Christian boys soccer, Topsail volleyball, all shirts represented today. Still looking for shirts. Send in yours to the office. We're still doing the fundraiser. So let's talk a little playoff football real quick. The matchups. Here's the matchups that we've got coming up this week. Laney is going to be at Wake Forest in the 4AA. E.E. Smith visits Hoggard in 4A. Knightdale at New Hanover in 4A. 3AA. West Brunswick at Terry Sanford. 3A. Fike will visit Topsail. 2AA. North Brunswick is at Clinton. 2A. Red Springs visits South Columbus. Also in 2A, Graham goes to Elizabethtown to play East Bladen. 1AA, a lot of teams in there. Spring Creek at Wallace Rose Hill, Hopton at James Keenan, Trask at Tarboro, and Mount Airy comes all the way to Whiteville. That's a trek. Guys, let's start off with New Hanover, the Mid-Eastern Conference champion for the first time since 1994. What do you guys expect from them going into the playoffs?
You know, for New Hanover, it's fascinating because really their most important conference game was early on in the slate against Hoggard. And they've been kind of feasting on the 3A teams. They got a little test from Topsail a couple weeks ago, so it's going to be interesting to see them jump back into the fray against another 4A team. So that could be interesting.
You know, I think their offense matches up well against anybody. I mean, when you got Burke Estes and Garrett Walston, you know, two of the better players in this area, and Walston, probably one of the better players in the state, you know, they're going to put up points, I think, regardless of who they play.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They did get the 2 seed in the 4A, so they've got an easier path. They can stay at home for a really, really long time if they need to, so that one could be pretty interesting. A matchup that features a team from our area against a team people are very familiar with, North Brunswick going to Clinton. Clinton obviously lost to Wallace Rose Hill last week in the conference championship game for the 4-county, but they're no strangers. They played very well with Hoggard earlier this year. Raheem Skinner is a heck of a running back. What do you think about this matchup that the Scorpions drew?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a shame. I think we all thought that North Brunswick was a team in 2A that could kind of make a bit of a run, and they just got a really tough draw. Raheem Skinner, I've seen him a handful of times over the past 2 years, and he's just a dynamic running back. You know, he's speedy. He gets to the outside, and he's gone. So, yeah, it's going to be real tough for North Brunswick to contain, which is kind of unfortunate because they were doing well in Larry Brock's first year.
You know, you never want to play Clinton. You especially don't want to play Clinton after a loss.
Right.
I mean, they're going to have a mission. And they're probably gonna steamroll through that one, I would think.
And they are the team that made it to the state championship game last year, so you got to think there's a good chance that they're going to be moving on. Sorry, Larry. Let's look at the 1AA real quick. Obviously, when the brackets first came out, the first thing that you noticed was, wow, Wallace and James Keenan won't meet in the finals of the East Region this year because they're on the same part of the bracket. The second revised bracket came out, and the state made sure to fix that. So we have the potential for a Wallace Rose Hill James Keenan meeting with the East Regional Championship on the line again for the third straight year.
Third straight year.
Surprised at all about that?
No, but at the same time, you can't overlook Tarboro. They have found that life in 1A isn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. They've kind of run into Wallace 2 years ago. They ran into James Keenan last year. So I think they're going to be hungry, and they kind of want to be the team to buck that trend of Wallace, James Keenan in the regional final every year. So that's going to be a fascinating storyline to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope as a fan of football that those two match up. I mean, I love it when those two Duplin County teams match up because it's just it's a bloodbath out there. I mean, those guys do not like each other, and they don't make any bones about it. So I kind of hope it does happen.
It could be another good one. Looking over all the playoff matchups that we got, do any of them that we haven't talked about yet intrigue you? Are you interested to see what happens? Do any of them kind of stand out to you?
You know, Red Springs and South Columbus, that's a conference rematch from a couple weeks ago. South Columbus has really turned its season around after a very, very difficult start. So that's going to be interesting to see for me.
Yeah, I'm a little interested in Fike Topsail. I want to see how Topsail does. You know, they have a losing record, but they got the home game by virtue of winning the 3A Mid-Eastern Conference, the 3A portion of the Mid-Eastern Conference. So, you know, they played well against West Brunswick, beat West Brunswick. They hung in with a couple other 4A teams. So, you know, we'll see how they do at home in the first round against, you know, I think a pretty decent Fike team.
I'm interested to see how Whiteville bounces back from losing last week to South Columbus. They got a home game. They got a Mount Airy team that's got to come a very long way to get here and play. Also going to be interesting, it's probably not going to be pretty, but you never know. Laney, Wake Forest. I mean, an undefeated team versus a Laney team that's been up and down all year. Who knows? Maybe the Buccaneers go up and put up a good fight and go out on a positive note, even in a loss, possibly. We'll be back later on as the playoffs continue to discuss some more, but for Tim and Vince, I'm Alex. We'll see you soon.